1 in 5 suffer.
Erase the stigma.
Brain difference is not a crime.
Mental health isn't just your problem.
It's our problem.
And now, Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
Welcome to Mental Health Mondays with Marla and, wait a minute, hold up, Dave. Dave is actually not in studio with us today, but he may be joining us. As you guys know, Take 6 is back on the road, so Dave is in New York. And right off the top, I want to remind everybody that Mental Health Mondays is brought to you by Mental Health Mondays, and we can't do this without you. So all it takes is $1 a day to keep the stigma away. All right? So I want you guys to make sure that you go to lovingbeyondreason.org or to Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and donate. We have an exciting show for you today. I have to tell you personally, I'm super looking forward to this show. People are always questioning function, and today our guests are going to help us learn how to do just that within their relationship. Our guests today are, yes, there's two, and they're such fans of professional wrestling that they started their own YouTube show, A and B Convos. Today I'm going to be the C that will not see their way out. Wrestling edition. And like most here on Mental Health Monday, they deal with mental health challenges or brain differences. The story sheds light on the marital relationship and where at least one spouse is dealing with a personality disorder or brain difference. We'll be back shortly, and we'll get a chance to talk directly to Becky and AJ Hammond. Stay tuned.
Help someone who is struggling by supporting the National Alliance on Mental Illness and be a part of the NAMI effect. Hope starts with you.
As I promised, I said we'd be right back, and every time I say it, we come right back. I don't want to spend another second without introducing my guests. Becky and AJ, welcome to Mental Health Monday.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And Becky, I'm just going to have you get as close. There you go. Because what happens is people want to hear everything you're saying, and then they write me and say, I couldn't really hear Becky. And then I say, here's Becky's phone number. Anyway, so let me get right to it. This is I was serious in the intro. This is very intriguing to me because of my experience with my children who are adults, yes, and the journey that they've had with mental health challenges. One, personality disorder with my oldest, and then my son who's bipolar 1 schizoaffective disorder. So I have to ask you right off the bat, how do you feel about a diagnosis? Both of you. To be do you coil back from someone saying you have a diagnosis?
Well, I got my diagnosis before we met, but I didn't, back then, I think it was like early 2000s. I don't even know if they knew what to do with borderline personality disorder. So they just wanted to put me on antipsychotics and mood stabilizers and antidepressants. So I was just kind of a zombie, and I'm like, that's not,
you're not even yourself.
Gonna work for me. So I didn't have a problem with the diagnosis because for me, everyone always said I was crazy. I knew that my interaction and the way how chaotic, and I just knew something was wrong.
What were some of the behaviors that you were displaying, and at around what age did you feel like you were different?
I don't know if it's that cut and dry with borderline, because with borderline you're actually your brain is experiencing trauma while it's forming. So what happens is you experience so much trauma over while your brain is developing that your connections, your wires are crossed, so to speak.
Right.
So I have like the emotional regulator for people with borderline is off. So imagine if you have a loss and you are just hurting and you want to talk to somebody, we experience that kind of pain on a daily basis. So like for me, like I can't watch scary movies because my anxiety is so bad that I can't. So anything that happens is so extreme, and most people might not even think, why are you reacting that way?
Right.
But because I'm already, like, my adrenaline's there already.
I call it so my oldest daughter has the same diagnosis. She doesn't want to own that. She'll own the other pieces. She'll own anxiety and some other things. I guess maybe feeling it's more socially acceptable. But the way I've explained it to the public is, to me, the emotional regulator is broken, but she's super sensitive. She's
super sensitive.
more than anything else. So
Yeah.
one of the things, and maybe you can tell me if this is an accurate analogy,
Mm-hmm.
I said, for her, if you were to step on her toe, the pain she feels, the retaliation, doesn't match.
No.
You know, so so what you
Right.
hurt me, but the pain she feels is so deep
Right.
that's worthy of her cutting your dog's throat, and you deserve that.
Right, because that's the black and white thinking that
Okay.
goes along with it.
Okay.
The thing is that I like, see, for me, I don't have a problem with the diagnosis because, like I said, I already knew, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're crazy," and so
That's not a diagnosis. Makes
no,
it worse.
that was what everyone always said. But because I experienced so much trauma, I mean, I had my first child at 15.
Okay.
I had my second child at 17. So
Right.
it wasn't like I thought I was normal. Like, I was like, can you tell me what's
Going on with me, right.
Because
You
this
knew
isn't what everyone else looks like at 17 on their second kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, those kind of things, it just was like, oh, okay, now I can read about it and understand it. And now I could maybe try to make sense out of it. But I was too young, and I didn't have any guidance. And I didn't have any programs back then I could get into.
Right.
So I was just trying to figure it out. But the thing is, life keeps happening, and things keep happening, and you can't really just, then you're going to self-medicate,
Right.
Because you don't know how to self-regulate.
Right.
So, I'm okay with owning that. It doesn't bother me. It, to me, helps me understand. I feel like the stigmatism that is behind, that is one of the worst mental illnesses you could tell people you have. Depression, anxiety, like, oh, we all feel that.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right.
Oh, I know life is hard. When you say
Right.
that, people are like,
Well, they see Fatal Attraction.
they see fatal attraction, and what they don't understand, which I just want to help people understand, is not only are we super heightened sensitive, so when you hurt our feelings, we do feel like you are now this enemy who's added to all this pain that isn't really all yours, but it's you added to it, right?
Right.
So now you deserve all of this. But also, our suicide rate is 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
So when people say we're just being manipulative, we're really just in so much pain that we don't know what to do. And so lashing out is part of your emotions not being regulated properly.
And first of all, I have to thank you. And before I even go on any further, let me ask you, how are you today?
Today, I'm okay.
Okay.
It's a good day.
Okay. Because that's kind of what I've learned. It's moment by moment. And to be honest with you, my true confession is just in trying to parent in a typical way, not understanding the borderline diagnosis until my oldest was 21. I'm sure that just the abandonment issues and, drawing these hard lines was further trauma probably to her. But in your mind, you're doing it in love.
Right.
So, if you can't identify. So what we're going to find out is how AJ came into the picture and where he found to do his rap so perfectly. I'd like to learn that when this is over. Because when my hair goes wonky, it just is. So we're going to get into, I would love to get into how you met AJ and how this whole situation plays into your understanding and management from within a relationship of borderline personality. Are you a dual diagnosis, or is that your only?
I have borderline. I have ADHD, which I feel like everyone does these days.
Yeah.
But I wasn't diagnosed till an adult. And then I have CPTSD, which is complex, which just means continuing trauma over many years. So not like one traumatic event.
Okay. So it's like a right. So it's literally almost an accumulative, a stacked trauma.
Yeah.
So to say that you've just been
Yeah.
picking up trauma all the way through.
I just collect them.
She said we're gonna put that we're gonna let her put that down. She's saying she's a trauma collector, not on my watch.
I was a collector. Let's
I like
try
that.
to switch that.
I like
up.
that. I
Yeah.
like that. So you've traded in your trauma for something pretty triumphant, and we're going to find out. Yes, AJ, don't look around, sir. I'm talking to you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Brandy and AJ Hammond.
When Dave and Marla get together.
Just remember Becky with the good hair. This isn't my hair.
You may not realize it, but these words, often used to describe someone with a mental health condition, can be very harmful. In a country where 1 in 5 people are affected by a mental health condition, it's time for all of us to step up and change the conversation. Just because someone's struggle isn't obvious on the outside doesn't mean they aren't hurting on the inside. We need to see the person, not the condition. Join with me, pledge to be stigma-free.
It's time for the Mental Health Minute with Marla and Dave.
Suicide causes immeasurable pain, suffering, and loss to individuals, families, and communities nationwide. On average, 112 Americans die by suicide each day. But suicide is preventable, so it's important to know what to do. If someone you know is showing one or more of the following behaviors, please don't ignore these warning signs. Get help immediately. 1. Talking about wanting to die or kill oneself. Here's another. Looking for a way to kill oneself. Here's another. Talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live. Talking about feeling trapped or in unbearable pain. Talking about being a burden to others. Increasing the use of alcohol or drugs. Acting anxious or agitated. Behaving recklessly. Sleeping too little or too much. Withdrawing or feeling isolated. Showing rage or talking about seeking revenge. And last but not least, displaying extreme mood swings. Again, we ask on Mental Health Monday, if you or someone you know is showing signs of any of these behaviors or symptoms, please seek help immediately. You can call the National Suicide Prevention Line at 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255. Trained crisis workers are available 24 hours a day to talk 7 days a week. This message is brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
Never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker.
And let me start off by a quick correction. This is what happens. Becky was the recipient of my old brain. Anyway, so yeah, I called you Brandy. Forgive me for that.
Okay.
So Becky, I want you to please introduce us to AJ your way.
Okay, so this amazing man of my dreams,
Aw.
my knight in shining armor, AJ, we met at a job. And when we met, I was actually like, I want to say my borderline personality part was in control because I go back and forth, like from being like a church leader, woman speaker at conferences to like swinging from a strip pole.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Extremes.
Right. So when he met me, I was in my, I hate everybody. I'm mad at God. I'm mad at the world, whatever. And so I wasn't trying to be in a relationship. I was not open to, really much of nothing but a little fling because he's fine,
Hey, boo. He got one of those.
But he wasn't trying to just, let me go, I guess.
Well, AJ, so talk to me. What did you see, and because I'll tell you what, I have to just again bring this in.
Yes.
Being someone who's been married for 33 years, and David and I meeting in second grade, and Moniece, my oldest, not being his biological daughter, what I tell people is I think that there's always there's no perfect person, but there's a perfect person for you.
Yes.
Tell me why, through all the surface things you saw, that Becky was your someone.
Oh, I say the same thing for the most part. I say there's somebody out there for everyone. It's just a question of when and where those roads are going to cross. So for me, it was really hard to pinpoint exactly what it was about her. I mean, obviously she's physically beautiful, but there's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, eyes, I'm sure people have heard this, windows to the soul. I saw something deep. There was a deep ocean there. I think I said something along the lines of there's a lot of complication going on behind those eyes that I really want to know about. And it wasn't surface level. So I really wanted to get to know more about that.
And so was it hard for you to let him in? And did you find yourself, okay, I know so much about borderline that I have to ask how you guys have managed to withstand some of the episodes that are possible, or are you an external borderline and can it get crazy? Like it really, really.
Oh, we've been together. It's been 18 years.
Wow.
We met in '02, and we married in '03.
So okay, so he's better with that. We have had issues for sure, but there was a great deal of that time where I had a daily prayer partner. Monday through Friday, and she happens to be a licensed therapist. So having a friend who loves you, who cares about you, who also is a therapist, who can work through your daily black and white extreme. And I just had a really good support system at the time, and things had started to calm down for a while. So I was doing better a lot during that time, but we still for sure had our battles and our ups and downs. And there was times where he left and there was times where I left, but ultimately we are at a point now where we know that this is what we want. We just need to work through it. So, I feel like when when our youngest one got diagnosed with cancer in 2013 or 14.
Something like that.
Thank you.
Wow.
For that time, I felt like I was as strong as I possibly could be, and I would blog every day because I had a blog anyway, and which ended up getting published. With this just a journey of going through childhood cancer, because as a mother, that's the one person that when you hear they have cancer, you're literally going, okay, God, can you just give that to me and take that, because that's the so that going through chemo and radiation for a little over a year and all that came with that, that kind of sent me on a path back towards, okay, this is too much for me. And then my church fell apart and my support system fell apart. And I'm like, okay, that didn't work out for me. Like, I tried to do it right. And so I went that way, you know, and we broke up for a little while. But I really I don't want to live in that place. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to go there, but trying to live there, I was like, this isn't where I want to be. So now I'm back.
Right. So AJ, where did you get your where does your understanding and management in love come from?
Well, I'll say that in thinking back to the time that we met, and I've mentioned this before, that you think you know something until you actually go through it. And that shows your real resolve. And so when she said, look, I'm a lot to handle, I said, no problem. I can handle stressful situations, not a big deal. But it's like a breakup. You listen to a song, it's a really nice song, but until you go through a heartache, that song hits differently. So like she said, we were back and forth. There were a lot of things, way too much, I feel, that anybody should ever have to go through. And you get to a point where you reach bottom and you think, this is it. And then bottom goes further.
Right, yeah.
And then there's that point where you say to yourself, and there's a movie that I love, The Never Ending Story, The Swamps of Sadness. When you're going through that, and you're either going to be the horse Ortex, or you're going to be the boy Atreyu, and you're going to sink or you're going to go forward. And it was that point where I said, I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to just back off. I'm going to continue to love, but I have to reach a point within myself where I realize I have to change, where I thought I knew humility until I knew humility.
Right.
And that is something that was an awakening for me.
Right.
When I realized that when she's going through it, and when she has her ups or her downs, I can't take it personally. Like you said, if there's something that happens and she is 1,000 times more emotional than I feel the situation should call for, I have to understand that.
Right.
It really has to be an understanding, and it's unfortunate that we had to go through some things to get there, and sometimes people don't come back from that, and I'm really glad that we were able to do those.
When we come back from this next break, by the way, I have to have you guys back on. This just has to happen because it's too quick, and I could have you guys here for 2 hours. But then we'll be hungry. There's that. But in the meantime, when we come back, I want the both of you to talk to me about how you have decided as a couple to set boundaries that work for emotional management.
Okay.
I want to know.
Oh, well, we're going to tell you.
All right. We'll be right back with more with AJ and Becky. Oh, I have to do it all on my own now. Let me introduce myself. Hold on. So you know what time it is. I'm Dave. It's poll time. Marla, are you going to give us the pole dance? Oh, Dave. What the hell? Get out of here. You don't get to just burst into my show. I was just...
And I would still like to see the pole dance.
I think you should do it, Dave, since you're all dressed up in New York City. Go ahead. You dance it up.
Hey.
There you go.
Actually, when I'm in my tuxedo, I have to dance like this.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay.
So what was the poll question last week?
The poll
Marla?
question last week was, what percentage of people, and we're going to give the two of you a chance to guess, what percentage of people who suffer from depression have a higher risk of developing cardiovascular and metabolic diseases? 20%, 30%, or 40%? 40. Okay, well
Wow.
then, yeah, the
Dang,
answer is
dang,
40%, and so they are emotionally matched, also in love, and they're smart. Okay, they might be the perfect package. Here we go. So the next week's poll question, which we're going to give you a chance to answer, but we won't know your answer until next week, so you have to tune in.
Next week, the poll question is, how many adults in the U.S. suffer with some form of depression? And that could be the various different forms of depression. How many adults in the U.S. suffer with some form of depression? And these answers are pre-COVID, so be careful. You're A, 5.8 million, B, 11.2 million, or C, 17.3 million people.
Oh, these are pre-COVID.
Okay. One more time, or you good?
No, David shouldn't have given you any. He should just let you go organically. That's not what they do on Jeopardy.
I say B.
You say B, 11.2. Is that your final answer?
AJ?
I'm going C.
AJ's going C. Well, this is a cliffhanger. Not only do we have two guests here, but one has chosen B and one has chosen C. Who will be right? Show back up here next week and we'll get the answer right here. Are you done? Can you hear? Are you actually done? Are you in between?
Done. I'm here.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
And we're back.
Okay, and we're back.
Fantastic.
There you go.
I'm
So
not a mirage.
I can't. You'll have to catch up on what's going on. But just at the top, right quick, I just want to remember to always remind everybody that these great shows are brought to you by your help. So $1 a day helps keep the stigma away. And so make sure that you donate. So let's get back to AJ and Becky. So Dave, the question I asked them before we went to this last break was for them to share with us how they together have decided to manage their boundaries. Which boundaries are effective in working to in their relationship?
I think that the only boundary, I feel like the only boundary you've set lately that was important was that he just wants me to stay present, because I would just leave, like for days, because I'm black. I'm going black and white. I'm going away from you, and he really just would just prefer that I not do that, obviously. So I feel like that's the only boundary he's really set, because when there's times where I need to go away, I can go in another room and he will give me my space, and he'll understand that I need it. Even if he doesn't understand it, he understands that he needs to give me that space. And so I don't disrespect him in my anger anymore.
But in the past there were moments.
Oh gosh, I disrespect everybody. There was no boundary anywhere. But I've gotten to a point where, especially within my marriage, where I know that this man loves me with all his heart, right? And his intention is not to hurt me. So if he hurts me, I can deal with that without making him the enemy, right? Because I have come to that understanding that he has my best intentions. And as long as I believe that, that's not going to change. So even though I'm hurt and I'm angry, I can know that I don't need to take it to the extreme, because he's not my enemy.
Right.
And since I've come to that understanding, I have not disrespected him, or there's been times where I needed space because I'm going through something in my mind. And that battle, it's like a cartoon with the angel and the devil. I got that battle going on in my mind. And when you can't trust the person you're looking at in the mirror, because sometimes they're trying to take you out, and sometimes you don't know. I don't know which voice to listen to. Sometimes I just need a retreat and work
Becky,
through that.
Becky, was that a change from the past? Would you actually physically go away for a little while as well, or
Yeah, no, I would leave.
just mentally?
Yeah, I would just, no, I would leave. I would, and if I could be out somewhere and something happened over a phone call with one of the kids or whatever, and I would just, I'm not coming home and be gone for days. I would just avoid it altogether. So I'm now not doing that.
So there also has to be, if we're going to keep it all the way real, there has to be a lot of forgiveness and understanding in this relationship.
For
AJ,
sure.
is that rough? Was that a rough thing for you?
Throughout our relationship, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because like I said, I thought that I knew X, Y, and Z, and I really didn't until I had to go through certain things. Now I'm at a point in my life where I really had to look in the mirror and make some changes within myself to be accepting and to say, this is what it is. I signed up for this. This is a marriage. It is for better or for worse. And sometimes the worse is going to be worse.
It's gonna be, yeah.
But this is what I signed up for. So either way, I'm going to accept this, even if I don't like it at the time. We will at some point discuss it in a calm, rational manner and then move forward. Even if we disagree, we can disagree without being disagreeable.
Right.
But it really took a lot of growth within me to come to that understanding and that resolution. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today.
Listen, hats off to both of you, to be totally honest, because it has taken, Becky, I know your soul, meaning that I'm the mother of you. And I'm actually almost about to, like, I feel like it's, and I'm not going to call it fangirling, but I need her help. I'm like, can you just tell me one thing? I just recently stopped. I had to cut Moniece off completely just because it's just the damage that she's doing. Anyway, so if you could just tell me one thing that would be beneficial for me, and please, I hope I don't want to trigger you at all.
No.
That will be useful, because I love her so hard, but I can't.
Let me tell you, when I was 21, I was not good for anybody, right? So the same way that I had to go through what I had to go through to learn and to grow, she's going to have to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's part of her journey. And so this space that any stance and boundary you're taking right now out of love, it doesn't matter if it's perceived in love right now, as long as you know that in the long run, your boundary is going to help her self-reflect.
Can I get some tissue, please? Sorry.
You know, like, it's going to help her self-reflect in the long run. This is the loving thing to do, because I didn't get any help. I didn't have any direction. I'm just trying to figure this out on my own all this time. So the work that you guys are doing is showing love. Everything that is love, it will come through on the other end.
Thanks.
And honestly, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Excuse me. That's really the reason that we wanted to do this. She thought I was joking when we were first approached about this.
He used to be so private.
It's very private, and that's kind of how I was raised. Is you keep your business
to
out
yourself,
of it to yourself. Don't put it out there. And as a man, there were things that I was instilled by my father, but there were also some things by my father that I realized were wrong. And you go through the journey to try to figure out the path, and you have a child that is like this table. It's a blank slate. You have no idea. You have a kind of a blueprint in your mind of how you want to see this child's life go, and then things take a left and take a right and take a U-turn, and it's all over the place. And as a parent, especially a parent that birthed this child, when you see them going down a path that you did not envision for them, that's hurtful. And then you add to that mental distress of one form or another, that's even more hurtful. And for somebody as myself and this gentleman right here, you have somebody who loves you and understands you and will go through this together. And all you can do, like she said, is love on them and keep them in your prayers and hope that they do, in fact, come back around and no real serious harm is done to them. But even if so, like I told her, she said many times, I'm a shattered glass. And I said, even if you are shattered glass, let's call it mosaic. And you put those pieces back together again. And it goes through all aspects of your life. until you see this brand new piece that you didn't originally envision. Doesn't make it any less valuable, doesn't make it any less beautiful to look at. Even though the edges are sharp, we went through some things. We've got some battle scars. Doesn't mean these scars aren't beautiful. We just got to continue to go down that path, and hopefully we come out better on the other side.
I really appreciate you guys, and I apologize. That's so out of character, but I carry so much all the time, and lately I've just been. And you know, when your motivator is love, and I know that she can't trust her feelings, so my sorrow comes because I know that she needs us more than she's able at this point to understand that she does, and we're there.
Yes.
And we've always been there. So
And I have a question specifically for AJ. Do you find, and you guys might have covered this before, if you have, just stop me. And I apologize for just running across the street, sweating a little bit, getting over here.
I ran to get to the studio. It's okay.
Do you find that more rigid boundaries are helpful? And specifically when there are times when Becky is just not feeling like she really feels the relationship, or do you find softer boundaries are more helpful?
It depends on the situation, and I have to really come to a point where I'm looking at it and reading it, because I've done both, and I've realized with rigid, even with children as well, especially with a significant other. If you try to hold them, there's a toy. I don't know if you've seen them in these toy stores that are kind of floppy, and the harder you squeeze it, the easier it does to
pops
slip
up.
out. It's not going to work. And even if you try to hold it gently, when you really need to do a firm hand, it's really something that is going to be trial and error, and look at the situation. Well,
don't move. We're gonna again, we don't have enough time. I'm gonna schedule them to come back.
Part 2.
They have to do part 2. It's just so important because it's one of the most misunderstood diagnoses and understanding behaviors that we have in mental health, which is why it was only recently added to the diagnostic manual. So we'll be right back with Becky and AJ and Dave.
And Dave.
It's raw, real, and unfiltered.
Hi there, I'm Robin Meade. You are not alone.
Bad.
What are you doing?
Look how worthless.
Don't trust them. They'll hurt you. You're worthless. It's pointless.
When the pain of schizophrenia meets hope, everything can change. Help someone who is struggling by supporting the National Alliance on Mental Illness and be a part of the NAMI effect. Hope starts with you.
It's raw, real, and unfiltered.
So we can't let Becky and AJ get out of here, and we are going to be having a part 2. I'm making that announcement now. We'll just have to check our schedules, and you need to look forward to that, because I know we will be. So
Absolutely.
Can you please tell us, we talked in the very beginning briefly, we just blew by it, the A and B Convos.
Yes. So A and B Convos, we have 2 channels. A and B Convos, which is our comedy channel, which we need to spend some more time on. But A and B Convos Wrestling Edition is the one that kind of took off. That one's been going on for a little over a year. We're about to hit 10,000 subscribers.
Nice.
We got a pretty loyal fan base.
Congrats.
So,
yeah, for sure.
It's doing well. So we just need to spend some more time on our A&B Convos.
And we all want to know where to find you right quick.
So on YouTube, you could look up A&B Convos Wrestling Edition if you're a wrestling fan. If you want to check out some of our comedy, some of our spoof comedy stuff, it's A&B Convos on YouTube.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And in parting, we have to say this. This is obviously very near and dear to us personally, because it's also a great example that you're not alone. And so often we do feel like we are by ourselves. So every conversation is worth having and worth hearing. And I give special thanks today to our guest. And thank you, Dave, for dressing up for Marla and Dave show.
Yes.
You guys are very special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys again, like Marla said. And for you guys out there watching, remember, like Marla already said, $1 a day helps keep the stigma away. And we need you to help bring you this kind of content. We love you. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Indeed.
So I personally have found